Hi, I'm Angel Tuccy. They call me the media matchmaker. I am known for helping guests get booked on podcasts. I also run the online Facebook network, Need a Guest, helping guests find podcasts and podcasters find guests. And I know the number one way to grow your list, to grow your audience, to sell more books, to attract more followers is, of course, to borrow other people's audiences. We call that being a guest on other people's podcasts. So even if you host your own show, the number one way to grow exposure to your show is borrowing the audience of another podcaster who shares the same audience as you, AKA being a guest on other people's shows. And did you know that with just 2 interviews a week on somebody else's podcast, that gives you exposure to over 50 brand new audiences? So think about this. If you were a guest on just 2 shows a week, being in front, that would put you in front of 50 audiences of your dialed in, honed in, targeted demographic, geographic, psychographics, and would help you to attract more leads back to your show. So when I first started in broadcasting, I was a radio talk show host. And so we were an unknown. I had started out as a podcast host. My show actually got discovered by my local radio station, and we were brought on to do the morning show. But in order to grow my audience, to get featured, right, to attract more people, because at that time, if you didn't have my radio station on your preset dials, do you remember those preset dials in the car? If you didn't have AM 560 as one of your preset dials, you were never going to discover me. And so what did I do? Every week, I was a guest on two other shows somewhere around the country. In fact, one of them I would get up at 4 in the morning so that I could be a guest on her show in order to grow my audience and grow my following. So this works whether you are a podcast host trying to get more traffic to your show. This works if you're an author trying to get more attraction to your book. It works really well if you're an author, a coach, a speaker, even if you just have a story and a message to share. Because we know that the thing people have the most time for in their day is listening to a podcast, listening to an audio. By listening to you, right, in their earbuds, they're probably doing something else while they're listening, right? Walking the dog, working out, sitting in traffic, right? All of that. They have the most time in their day that they can actually listen because they take you on the go versus sitting in front of like this, like a video. You had to stop, you had to make time for this, to attend a workshop, to watch a video, to actually read a book. That's why audiobooks are so popular, right? We can take them with us. It's also the fastest way to grow that know, like, and trust factor because they're listening in earbuds. You can actually talk directly to your audience, your person, right? And you can make it really personal and really connected exactly to the message that you know, the struggle that they are having and the solution that you are bringing to the table. And we know that podcast listeners like listening to podcasts. And so if they listen to one podcast, they're really very likely to come and listen to your podcast as well. So it's a real win-win. But how do you find more shows to get booked on? How do you actually get booked in this cadence of 2 per week? I'm going to walk you through a couple of quick steps for how we do that. How I've grown my business over the last 5 years. I was in broadcasting. Then I traveled as a public speaker. And then during the pandemic, I started the Facebook group Need a Guest in order to bring podcast hosts and guests together in one place. And what we discovered, I mean, almost, in fact, today we just celebrated 32,000 members in that group. 1 year ago, we celebrated 19,000 members in that group. And so over the course of the last 5 years, my job is to go and build relationships with podcasters, but how we grow our leads and traffic is going and being a guest on 2 podcasts every week. I've followed that formula since day one of becoming a radio talk show host. When I was an author, I became an author and I was promoting my book. I was a guest 2 times a week, right? Whether that was a live show, a book club, somewhere I was speaking twice a week. And I kept that book on the bestseller list for 32 weeks in a row just by speaking and being a guest either on a podcast or a radio show or somewhere at least twice a week. I remember reading about Jack Canfield and when he was promoting Chicken Soup for the Soul, and he was doing radio tours, right? Radio interviews in order to get that book seen and heard, right? And made aware of. He did an interview 7 days a week, 7 days a week. He was putting his show, he was interviewing somewhere every single day in order to promote the book. And when the book finally did hit the New York Times bestseller list, I think it took about 7 years. He actually that one, sorry, that one didn't take 7 years, thinking of a different book. But when it finally hit the New York Times bestseller list, he dialed it back to 6 days a week. What we have discovered because of the internet, because of technology, because of the evergreen messaging that podcasting has, right? If you record it today, they can listen to you next week, next month, next year. It has longevity to it. You really need, like, the proven formula that we have discovered is just a cadence of 2 interviews a week. This allows you to serve your high ticket clients or high value clients to still have a life. And it's really easy to replace something that isn't working to attract leads with these 2 interviews every week. So after the course of 30, 60, 90 days, you have solved your traffic problem. You are getting booked every single week right out of the gate. We recommend to our clients to go and get booked on 10 shows right away. Where do you find 10 shows? Well, you probably are networking with other podcasters who need guests for their shows. You can offer to do a swap. Now, interview swaps over the long run are not, it's not scalable, right? To be a guest and swap out for every show that you want to be on. But for your first 10, to get the ball rolling, to really front load the deck in your favor, to stress test this, to road test it, go and get booked on your first 10 podcasts. You can do interview swaps, networks that you belong to, people that you know that have a show that you might be a really good fit for. If you're in a networking community or you're in a Facebook group like Need a Guest, right? Go and find your first 10. Get those ones on the calendar, kind of heavy front load and stockpile yourself so that you're getting that momentum going. And then once you've got those first 10, then just each week, you just take 1 hour, right? And go and get booked on 2 more shows every week. Inside of our Facebook group, we host a co-working session that helps you to find guests. There are a lot of resources. There are a lot of podcast services, right? That'll help you find them. There's podcast networking groups. There's a lot of places to go and find. There's directories, right? That you can be a part of. There are a lot of opportunities. We, of course, have our own community full of podcast hosts. We get about 150 new posts a week. So it's constantly growing. There's always an opportunity. And also for these first 10, as you're getting yourself out there, I wouldn't even be really fussy. Like, it doesn't matter for sure if they're the exact target audience that you want to be in front of, as long as there's some connection, some value that you can bring to that show. We just want you to get that momentum. But here's what being a guest every week does. Not only does it increase traffic for you, exposure to your show, it really is a game changer when it comes to the mindset and the mentality of where we are at. Like, the world is just stacked against us, right? The news, the challenges, like, so much that is happening. But by being a guest on somebody else's show every week, you're talking about the thing you are most passionate about, right? The thing that lights you up, the thing that just juices up your cells, right? Like, this is your favorite thing to talk about. And it's a brand new audience. So it's a fresh new eyes and ears on your story. I promise you, it doesn't get old. So make sure that you are speaking about one core topic that you are super passionate about, because otherwise interview number 50 is going to feel like a drag. I have been doing this for 5 years. I have been a guest on hundreds of podcasts. I never get tired of talking about being a guest on other people's shows, right? I never tire of talking about how to get media exposure. I never tire, right? Like, this is my jam. Find the thing. And when you focus on one message, right? One core message, one core audience, one core marketing method for 1 year, that's how you scale to a 6, 7, and even an 8-figure business. So stay focused on your one core message. Join a network, right? A community where you can connect with podcasters. Get booked on 2 shows every single week like clockwork, but come out of the gate guns a-blazing. Go and get booked on your first 10 podcasts right away to create that momentum, create that excitement, and then just keep that cadence and that consistency every single week, 2 shows every single week, and just have a really cool call to action. Be able to describe your show, what's in it for the audience. Do that every week, and it's a game changer for your business. Again, I'm Angel Tuccy. They call me the Media Matchmaker. I host the Need a Guest Facebook group, and I can't wait to see you in there. Cheers.